Hello, my name is PJ CAPOSEY. I am Superintendent of Schools for Meridian 223. What I'm going to do today is hopefully walk everyone through the levy process so that they understand kind of why, how, and what happens with their taxes in terms of how it looks for our school district. We will be adopting a levy in December of this year, so we'll be adopting it in 2017. The levy will be collected and distributed to the district for use in our fiscal year 19. So the first thing that we have to understand is kind of what is the levy, and that's essentially how, as a school district, we collect the taxes which we are entitled to collect through state law and school code. And so it's a seemingly complex process, which really isn't once you understand the rules and regulations, which of course is my job as superintendent, but it is not really often understood by educators and or community members. And so the effort in doing this is to try to kind of narrate through exactly our thought process as we go through and levy for the monies that will come in and support our district and what we're trying to accomplish through revenue. So for us to start, we have to start with what the EAV is for the district. And so for us, we serve two counties, Winnebago and Ogle. The issue with EAV is that we have projections to work off of by the time we have to submit the levy. So we don't have a concrete number to work off of, which is what causes almost all of the confusion with the levy process, because there's the number that we expect to get, and then there's the number that we ask for, just in case the projections we get from our county assessors are wrong. And so you'll see here our historical EAV in the district. We kind of hit a high point, what would be in FY10. We've bottomed out, and now we're kind of rising back up. So the projection from our county assessors, when you combine the two numbers, is about a 4% increase, a 4.1% increase in our EAV. That is great for the school district in terms of we will then be able to collect more revenue. It is great for us as homeowners because it means our property is worth more. In terms of taxpayers, it means that despite the fact that, as you'll see throughout this year, that we are decreasing our tax rate as a district, you may still pay an increase in taxes if the value of your home exceeds the levy reduction in which we're putting into place. So once we determine the EAV, then we kind of determine the levy by fund. So if you've watched any of these videos, first of all, thank you. Second of all, hopefully you're getting an understanding that there's several different funds and mechanisms for which we can tax. So what we do is kind of go fund by fund, and what I'll do in this video is explain that so that you have a greater understanding of why we are levying what we are for each of the funds as they are represented. So we start with Fund 10 Education. That's the biggest fund in lots of different ways. It's the biggest logistically in terms of just the amount of revenue and expenditures that come out of it. But also when you think of revenue, it's kind of all things education. We're school. That's kind of what's most important. So as you guys know, we passed a 7-year referendum a handful of years ago that eventually we will go back out for and try to extend ad infinitum. With that referendum, figuring that in, we take the EAV, so our projected EAV is 171 million, times that tax rate, and we get a number that we expect to collect. So when you look at that 5,956,000 number, that's what we truly expect to collect. The issue for us is that, as I said before, we're dealing with projected EAV. So given the fact that we want to capture everything we can in the education fund, we will actually levy for more than that. That limit of 3.48 is set statutorily. We will never get more than that limit. So we can ask for $20 million. That would be probably the easiest way to do it, just these outlandish numbers. What we actually get is whatever the EAV is, that we do the math times the 3.48 rate, and we get what we do. So again, we expect 5.956, but we're going to ask for 6.051. And you'll see this as a theme for the vast majority of our funds as we go. Fund 20, Buildings and Grounds, you'll see the same thing. The rate is capped, so there's a statutory cap of 0.5. We try to capture all of the dollars we can in Buildings and Grounds, and you can see the math. Fund 30 and Bond and Interest. So Fund 30 is one of the ones that's a different process than what we just described in Fund 10 and Fund 20. Bonds and Interest is our long-term debt. So when we do building work, For instance, the building work we completed last summer cost a ballpark figure $10 million. We just don't have $10 million in the bank. So what we do is essentially take out a loan and then we pay the bond and interest on it over time. We try to do so in a way, we strategically structured this one so that it didn't impact tax rate. So we try to keep it level with tax rate. So this year we'll be collecting $1.8 million in bond and interest, of which we'll pay back our long-term debt. Fund 40, transportation. Fund 40 operates the exact same way that Fund 10 and Fund 20 do, where there's a statutorily capped rate. We try to capture as much of that as we can. Fund 50 is different. Fund 50 is our retirement for any non-certified employee. So when you think of non-certified, that's non-teachers, non-administrators. So when we think of instructional aides, bus drivers, maintenance, technology technicians, and the list goes on and on. We are allowed to tax wherever we need to for this. So if we had an overabundance of non-certified employees, we could just capture as much of that money as we want to. For us, we have a little bit of a surplus in Fund 50. And so for what we would like to do is get that as even as possible. So we're just taking what we want to. So what we're doing is intentionally under levying in this area to provide some relief to taxpayers to spend down whatever that surplus was. And just for point of reference, that surplus we've been trying to spend down for like 5 years. We're doing it gradually and systematically, but it existed before this administration or board took place. Fund 60 is capital projects. There is no direct revenue source through taxation for Fund 60. Fund 70 is working cash, works same as Fund 10, Fund 20, Fund 40. So our rate is capped at 0.05, and then it's just that math equation as explained before. Fund 80 is tort or risk management. So anything that pertains to risk management, from portions of salaries to liability insurance, workman's comp, etc., is paid for out of Fund 80. Fund 80, again, is a limitless fund. So we can take as much as we need in there. Each year we perform a risk management assessment, or we approve a previously completed risk management assessment, which tells us what we can tax for. We can tax for upwards of $700,000, $800,000 in Fund 80. Again, we choose not to, trying to be as fiscally responsible as possible and not overburden our taxpayers. So we ask for $520,000. We have for a couple of years now. We found that to be a sustainable figure. I'm not saying that it won't marginally increase in the future, but that's where we found a decent kind of homeostasis for us in that fund. And then Fund 90 operates like the majority of the other funds. We have 0.05 to go after, and we collect it. Lease and rent isn't its own fund, but we use it and we supplement Fund 10 with it. Again, same type of math equation. Special education, same way. It funnels directly back into Fund 10. So summary and totals. If we have a EAV of $171 million, we're going to ask for $10.339 million. We expect to get $10.229 million, which means that we expect our tax rate to be kind of 5.976, so we'll round that up to 5.98. Just for point of reference, so you guys understand where we have come from and where we are in terms of V, we can look at the tax rate over the last several years. What you see in FY 11 and 12 is there are a handful of things that we just weren't levying for. We weren't levying in lease, we weren't levying in working cash. So as we hit our fiscal kind of crisis in the district, we started levying for those things. It's good practice to levy for those. Almost universally, districts capture all the revenue that they can. You'll see the big jump between FY 15 and FY 16, which is indicative of the revenue dollars flowing in. If you remember back to the referendum campaign, and if you heard me speak, or if I was able to come to your house, or if you attended any of the chats at the local fire stations, what we shared is that we didn't plan on raising taxes in any other fund if we got the referendum outside of what we were already indebted to in terms of some significant chunk raises in tax rate that were going to come from bond and interest. One of the things that we were able to do when we restructured our bonds as a result of doing the $10 million project last summer is we're able to, instead of having these large increasing chunks that were going to come to the taxpayer, we were able to kind of stabilize that and extend it out over a handful more years. So you will see that this year I'm pretty excited and proud that when we go out to levy in FY19, we'll actually be at a lower tax rate than we were when we first recouped the referendum dollars in revenues that came forward. So we project to be at a 5.98 tax rate this year. Again, that will be our lowest since FY16. It'll be our lowest since we started capturing the referendum dollars. As always, if you have any questions, please feel free to contact me, PCAPOSEY at mail.meridian223.org or at 815-980-0310. Thank you again for taking the time to watch this, and make it a great day.